Hello, Mr. Franklin. Today I'm going to be talking about the identity theory and each of its 5 major components: body, soul, brain, memory, and illusion. I'm also going to try to keep in mind the following questions that pertain to identity. Who am I? How unified am I? And do I also persist throughout time? So to start off, I'm going to be looking at the body theory of identity. This is an empirical theory which states that sameness of body entitles sameness of person or personal identity. It seems as though this is the most applicable theory in daily life, and the one that you and I, or all humans, mostly rely on in human interactions. But this theory still has holes in it. It seems like common sense to simply look at a person and know that they are the same inside and out. But then how can one explain an instance of cloning or copying? If a physically identical clone is made of me, based on this theory, the clone would then have the same thoughts, feelings, and overall identity as me, which I find kind of unsettling. Also, then, if the body is the only best method of determining sameness of a person, how would a believer of this theory then explain seeing a child and perhaps a young adult or adult version of the same child? It seems like it doesn't require much thought or investigative work to tell that I was me at 8 years old and me at 17 years old. For instance, my grandma I haven't seen in 3 years. However, if I went to visit her tomorrow, she would know that I am still me, Meg, or Margaret. But based on this theory, it seems like the old self that she saw and the new self have different identities, since they don't in fact look identical to one another. Also, another point is that when it comes to identifying oneself in the morning, as very few of us have to actually get out of bed, go look in the bathroom mirror to know that we're the same. But this theory seems to say that, or suggests that, no psychological continuation of a self is necessary. However, as stated in the reading Second Night, we don't have to look down at ourselves every morning to reassure ourselves that we're the same. It's simply done in our mind or our brain or whatever other area of process. So even though there are glaring errors with this identity theory, I admit to relying on it most heavily in daily life situations. Every time I go to world literature or philosophy class, I don't question Mr. Franklin's continuity of person or identity, because I can in fact see that he is the same and the same teacher. Okay, moving on. The soul theory seems to tie in well with the body theory. This soul theory is metaphysical, and it states that sameness of soul then equals sameness of person or identity. So you are not you because you have the same body as you did yesterday. You are you because of the continuation of your soul from yesterday to today. So this is a Judaic-Christian belief. The Judaic-Christian belief of the soul, as well as Plato's, is that the soul is not tangible or a material item. So, unlike chocolate or any type of food or item, it cannot be touched, seen, or bitten into. So even though it's not composite, it's considered to actually determine one's identity and self. However, the issue comes in proving the very existence of the soul. While sameness of soul could entitle the sameness of person or me, how can any of us know that they do in fact have the same soul from day to day? My personal issue with this theory lies in the possibility that our souls could be changing every second, minute, hour under our very noses. So while my values and personality will probably remain mostly the same on a day-to-day basis throughout this semester or month, there's no way of telling or proving that my soul will also continue on in the same form every day this month. So to me, it seems like a theory that requires faith above all else. If an individual has faith in their soul, then who am I to tell them that the soul doesn't exist? However, as soon as one states that every individual on the planet has a consistent soul throughout their lives, then I'm going to begin, calling into question the validity of this theory of theirs. Next is the brain theory of identity. This is clearly an empirical theory, since the brain is in fact a physical part of our bodies, even though we can't see this, with the naked eye on a day-to-day basis. So this theory looks to the brain as a necessary indicator of the continuation of one's self or personal identity, not memory or other, psychological elements or things. I think of the brain as a sort of case or shell, like a hardware that's holding the memories or other elements that would determine one's personality. Because it seems as though memory is, then the computer game of this brain or hardware. However, just because the brain seems necessary in determining one's identity or set of memories, I don't think it's sufficient. For instance, a person could be brain dead or in a coma and have the physical brain intact, but be unable to access it or think, have a stream of thought. So are they then the same person? What if their thoughts and memories, like tabula rasa, what if their thoughts and memories in a car accident are wiped clean and completely destroyed, and all they're left with was the same brain, but none of the same memories? Does holding the same brain with none of the same memories or feelings mean they are in fact the same person? It seems that this is the subject of debate regarding this theory of brain. And it is in quite fact similar to the body theory, which is also an empirical theory. How much of one's original brain must they have in order to have the continuation of their self or identity? If I can cut off my arm or leg or part of one of my limbs and still be Meg, can't I then also cut off part of my brain, or 3/4 of my brain, and still be Meg? So while having the same brain seems like quite an obvious way in knowing someone is the same, what if, you were to be cloned and an exact replica is running around, with an exact replica of you is running around with the same exact brain? Since he has the same brain, based on this theory, he would then be the same you. But then how can there be two of the same people with the exact same personal identity existing if we are all each supposedly unique individuals? Okay, after the brain theory is that of memory. According to this theory, so long as one has the same memories, they are the same person or have the same personal identity. I think we often take advantage of our ability to draw on past memories or experiences, and we think of our memories as an element unique to each of us. It's not something that we look to. It's not an element that we think of like as similar to a collective group of people. For instance, my memory of class last Wednesday will be slightly different than everyone else in the class, even though we all sat through the exact same lecture and discussion. We all took in different instances of it. However, if it is only through retaining the same memories that an individual can be considered the same person, then how does a believer of this theory explain the function of the brain in this process or theory? Does the brain, the physical brain, not also play a role in enabling access to these very memories? As mentioned before, the brain seems like a necessary item in having memories, though not sufficient. In the OLC brain transplant reading that I read, Mr. Brown and Mr. Robinson had a brain transplant, and one woke up with the other's brain. However, also attached to that brain were the same memories of the other man. So the supposed man that survived had Mr. Robinson's body, but Mr. Brown's brain. So when he awoke, he gained all of Mr. Brown's memories and past experiences, but had Mr. Robinson's casing or body. So based on this theory, is he not now Mr. Brown, regardless of his physical appearance? And the fact that he's denying that he's Mr. Brown? It doesn't seem possible to have a transplant of memories without a transplant of the same physical brain. For instance, they couldn't have given Mr. Robinson all of Mr. Brown's memories without first giving him his physical brain. So wouldn't you then have to agree that a continuation of at least some physicality of the person is necessary in determining identity? Or how else could the same memories continue on? The last and very different theory from the others is that of illusion. This one varies from the others because it's stating basically that any continuation of self or personal identity is no more than illusion, merely an illusion. And this ties in quite well with Buddha's teachings, which we read about, and that the fact that only the consequences of one's actions will remain. Nothing like a soul will continue on in the afterlife. Also, people, according to this theory, are constantly changing throughout time. Every second, minute, month, day, you are a different person than you last were the previous time. It becomes difficult labeling this theory as empirical versus metaphysical because, while it seems like something that isn't empirical, an illusion, every 7 years, as few people know, our bodies do in fact change their entire, interior physical makeup, and we are essentially a new being. So personally, while I do think the idea of a personal identity continuing through time seems quite idealistic, I think there are some aspects of oneself that do continue on and we can't deny. For instance, while there may not be the same self or umbrella of identity from yesterday to tomorrow, I can still hold the same values yesterday and today, or morals, or experience the same memories. In the end, my personal belief before approaching this topic in such a depth in class and analyzing everything in detail was that people are the same based on how they look. So to put it bluntly, if you appear the same as the last time I saw you, I'm not going to second guess that you're the same person or not. Sometimes I might make the joke that a friend isn't quite acting like themselves. And I'll say, oh, you seem like a different person, or like someone else is trapped in your body. But I'm always going to conclude that they are in fact the same friend if they appear or look the same. So whether their personality or attitude is changing, if this friend of mine, if she has the same face and body, I'll still think she is a continuation of the same self or person X. While there are many flaws in this type of identity conclusions, I think it's the most practical on a daily basis. For instance, if I relied on the evidence of one's brain or soul to tell if they're the same person, I would go through so much more trouble and time. Actually, if I wanted to even prove the continuation of the same soul, there is no evidence of it, so it would take me a lifetime and beyond that to do so. And that's the reason why I have trouble in accepting the soul theory of identity. And this also is similar to when looking at memories as proof of one's continuation of self. Because it seems as though one can't have the same memories without admitting that some physical element is needed in a continuation of the self, such as the brain. So I think that the only way you can really know if one is the same person or has the same identity is based on their origin. So if Meg was cloned, I would then look to the clone. Is my clone born from the same mother's womb? I think not, so she isn't the original Meg. So even though, despite possibly changing memory, soul, body, and brain, these things that all could be different from a day-to-day basis, so long as the same person came into existence and then leave the earth or dies in the same identical manner, they are the same person, in my opinion. I know that my theory isn't quite perfect, but to me, it seems as though no other philosophical identity theory is either. So, thank you.